Pray to gods. Pray to flags. Prey on people. We no longer watch movies but 24-hour news networks. We are desensitized to human suffrage. We watch war like sports, routine for the home team. Many choose not to believe because temptation has won. We excuse what we have become by fear and laziness of ever becoming something better. Those that call out those entitled believe they are entitled to do so. Those that scream freedom are the first to be silent. Those that call for peace disconnect from it. A nation that cries for one only to ignore 1,000 others. One giant world, one tiny screen focusing on one picture on an endless canvas. Zoom out. A man on the moon, exiled from Earth. A monster called America, homely but one head of a global hydra. Paradise on fire, deniers decorated with diamonds. Covered in sin, covered in the blood of the innocent. Red rubies, red waters, children defenseless with dead fathers and helpless mothers. Sultans, a colton, applaud your generous contribution to child slavery. We, the people, guilty of the high cost of luxury. A heart without a beat, a silent MC. The blues run empty, spoken truth outshined by the bling. A disease gone viral, a cure unaccounted for. A storm born to balance out the poor. A world at war, a nation that has fooled them with crocodile tears as they continue to invade neighboring sovereign republics for the past 8 years. And that is a genocide they don't talk about. That kind of shit we're not supposed to think about. Blanketed by the security of a favoring media to downplay the Azov Nazi, to ignore the truth of Crimea, to offer no apology to the citizens of Dostoevsky. This game needs a devil. The news takes a blank canvas and paints a picture to tell a story, to sell a story to a people exposed to a massive world through one microscopic lens, watched on large screens, handheld propaganda, spoon-fed untruth, blind to what the world shows you when not looking. What can dead men tell you when not breathing? There are great differences in between celebrities, influencers, and artists. Rose-colored glasses, heavily applied filters, a voice of freedom. Liberty is a lonely woman so few stand for. There are too many crowds that only follow. Freedom fighters fight against freedom. A nation in mourn. A nation distracted by a tiny screen. Their eyes read pictures that spark emotion but can't tell the story. Welcome to the return of illiteracy. Sanctions cause worlds to go hungry. Ego battles among thoughtless cattle. Untelevised brutality and sympathy for those who asked for it. A drop of water in a sea of plastic. Fish filled with poison. A child who cries in his sleep. A child who dreams of peace. A man that succumbs to his own needs based upon greed. A draft dodger. A soldier. A shepherd. A shopkeeper. A widow of the last invasion who still grieves for her 3 deceased children. A man who stands alone. A thought controlled. An American dream. A foreign nightmare. A blasphemous crusade. A disturbance in one's faith. What to think after we survive the last day and begin to live in a time unwritten. I envision an end to all revisions. Jews, Muslims, atheists, Christians. Some spread blessings, some spread pestilence, some spread the word by sword and bullet, then blame violence on the ones they disagree with. We fall short to the grace of God. Amun-Ra, Jehovah, Allah. We cannot categorize infinity by only one name. Faith is open for interpretation. Caves, mangers, deserts, gardens of the Mediterranean. We elect mortal masters. We select a code of ethics called law. Law is determined by the unlawful. A congregation listens to a sermon conducted by a minister, a preacher, an unholy father whose words are whispered into his ear from 5-star generals. God, government, church, state of war, patriotism, loyalism. Blind mice know no difference. Wave your hands in the air. Raise your hands in the air. Give praise. Freeze. shout wrong answers, reach for dreams, seek reason until infected by sleep. The FDA drugs us to keep us sedated, compliant, and harmless as our handlers tighten our harness and we call ourselves free and we can't breathe. An executioner on bent knee, an actual procedure. Watch as tomorrow's victims defend him today. Watch another thought process, a different protest in 24 hours. One who speaks of violence, one who speaks of profiling, one who speaks of mask, one who cries for food and gas after supporting sanctions against one of the world's leading suppliers. A phone, an iPad, a computer, a typewriter, a notebook, a pen stabs untapped thought and spills them on the page. Finger paint with a mixture of black ink and red blood. A common cold, war, propaganda, red alerts with red scares, NATO, not so secret meetings, just another bullshit reason for a young man to die today. A martyr to his hometown, a pawn for his recruiter. A man sets before his television, sets him right where it wants him. Conversations of bigotry and murder, speaking language a puppet master, no strings attached. Many are learning to carry out their orders before they were ever given. They're those who believe in Russian boogeymen. They are on wounded knee praying to John Wayne's ghost. They are believing themselves to be saints as they dance in the flames of Babylon, carrying on about doing nothing wrong and being one with God. They are waving flags, raging war on invisible enemies, discussing fear over coffee, beer, and tea, intoxicated by the sensationalism of fabricated stories delivered by fork-tongued anchormen. My speech will be words of silence. Before they made us Christians, before we were Indian, before the Bering Straits, along the Mediterranean, we were trying to escape. We were trying to escape. We were slaves of Babylon, indentured servants of Ireland, children of Africa, lost descendants of the Appalachians, refugees of occupancies, human experiments with man-made disease, women burning on wooden stakes for the weakness of men, bullied teens who grew up to be quiet men, obedient sheep before the television being fed irrational fears at 6 and 10. We, the fast-forgotten plight of Palestinians, a land where Israel keeps practicing the bloodiest, most brutal forms of gentrification. There are strangers in the kitchen, stranger than fiction, but what is stranger than non-fiction? Following footsteps of man, walking with serpents, brushing off warnings, protecting their oppressors, covering one eye, witnessing half-truth, blind to humanity, hoping I transfix somewhere between mental enslavement, miseducation, temptation, television, phones, tiny screen. Home is not what it used to be. There are bullet holes in gas tanks and shards of metal buried deep in once pure hearts. Oh, say, can you see? 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 Oh, say, can I see?